Over the past months, we have identified knowledge partners who's active in the space, and we are starting to map who does what to see whether there's any gaps that should be filled and who is in the best position to fill those gaps. We are starting a journey mapping what each knowledge partner does. So bear with us. We have identified some building blocks, and we are starting to identify who is active in each of the building blocks. We are then going to set up a working group with knowledge partners that is going to meet frequently, virtually, to try to address fragmentation. And we are going to be looking at country by country to see what's happening in each country, who's active, and if there's countries where there's no activity, why is that, and who is best placed to support that country. We will be sharing that information with you, of course, with our PMI donors and with our PMI countries. So today's discussion, again, we're going to ask you to work, but it's the last session. There's some coffee, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from each one of you on 3 questions that Harry will be introducing. So Harry will be introducing the building blocks and 3 questions, one by one, that you will try to deal with in each of your tables. You're going to discuss about it, and hopefully you're going to use the paper that is with you, and we will take those answers with us so that we can analyze them and think of what are the next steps that make sense. Over to Harry. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Flavia. So if you go to the next slide. So as Flavia mentioned, so this is our first attempt. Please note that this is not the the perfect representation of what's all happening in this space, but we all know that there are many partners are engaged in this space, helping countries on the capacity building. Of course, from the country's point of view, of course, more the merrier. But what we wanted actually to ensure that there is no conflicting messages or the support that we are providing and are confusing already a complex topic that countries are grappling with. So from that perspective, so we looked into what are the things that countries are asking for, and what different partners are either already started helping or in the process of helping the countries on these things. Of course, I think all are very familiar topics to many of us here. Starting with developing some kind of strategies, so that they can look into how to approach the role of different carbon market instruments, and including now we also feel that as countries are in the process of updating their NDCs, how do we actually help countries to improve the narrative and then properly recognize the role of the carbon markets in their NDCs. I mean, if you see the first or first generation of NDCs, I mean, countries either just say yes, we intended to or we plan to use the carbon markets, but can we help countries to go beyond that one to provide more information on how exactly the carbon markets can play a role? So that's starting. And then policy frameworks, of course, we're all aware of that thing. Several countries are in the process of developing these things, but I think the main issue is one, of course, developing the policy frameworks, but how do we actually help countries to operationalize them? The interministerial coordination, I mean, setting up the infrastructure that is needed, and then developing the templates, rules around that one, and data requirements for different participants, and etc. And then, of course, authorization, reporting, tracking. I mean, of course, these are the, we all know what needs to be done, for example, as on Article 6 on these kind of things, but how do we actually help countries to I'm sure you heard just the session before and also this morning and then yesterday some of the challenges and then what countries are looking into that thing. And then how do we actually help countries with the pipeline development? I think we heard that one of the challenges is also to understand how much it is going to cost for the project developers to develop these projects into these Article 6 transactions, because it's still evolving. That information is not available. So who out there? And of course, the another aspect that we are also looking into. Some countries are also looking to building the validation and verification bodies domestically, to help different requirements. So they're having a clarity on what exactly that means, how much effort that countries needs to make, whether it makes sense for them to have their own or to use the existing one. But of course, we saw in the past how African countries struggle to get these local BVBs and rely on elsewhere. And then of course though we put the voluntary market consideration, but of course that will become a part of the other things that we do. So this is basically to bring as much as granularity as possible to see that who is playing which role, and then at what point in time, and then how do we actually coordinate better so that we help countries so holistically. And then we try to map here who is doing in this space, which is again not reflecting fully. Please correct actually if there is anything that you want, but we will be reaching all, or we already started reaching all these partners to get the information on in which areas they are already engaged, in which countries they are engaging, and so on and so forth, so that we have a comprehensive picture of who is doing what and in which countries, and then where more than one partner is already there in that country, so that we can make an effort to coordinate at least on the ground level. So that's an effort. So with that background, so we wanted basically to seek your feedback on three things, as Flavia mentioned. If you go to next slide. What is actually working well so far? So based on the experience so far you all have, especially the country participants, receiving such kind of a support from various players. So what is working well for you to meet your objectives? So what is not working well? That is the second question that we wanted to also ask, and so that we can find where the gaps are, and then how can we. I think that's what I need to. Okay. Yes. And the third one is what are your immediate priorities? So maybe we go by one to start with, and then so that you can. What's happening? Yes.
Harry, I can
Yes.
help facilitate.
Yeah, now it's good. It's
the
working.
meeting?
Yeah. So what is working well, what is not working well, and then what are your priorities? So these are the three topics that we wanted to hear from you. I don't know, Fernando. So for each topic, we will take each separately, one after other, or each table will discuss all three together.
If you give me the floor, I can give instructions
Yes.
for.
Yeah, please. Yeah.